controversial US ruling against Argentina has provided so-called virtual funds with a new sharp legal strategy. What are the repercussions on the international world of sovereign debt restructuring? To help me discuss this, I'm joined by Yanis Manalidis, partner at law firm Allen & Overy. Thank you for joining me, Yanis.
Thank you for having me, Sylvia.
So we had a lawsuit against Argentina by a group of holdout investors, NML Capital and others. They had New York law-governed bonds from the time when Argentina defaulted in 2001. They never accepted the restructurings deals that were offered, and now this US ruling said that they were right and they have to be repaid in full. At the center of this is an interpretation of a certain clause, the pari passu clause, that gives equal treatment to all bondholders. And we are already seeing another lawsuit which is using the same legal arguments used against Argentina, Export-Import Bank of Taiwan against the state of Grenada in the Caribbean. Are we going to see others? Will others follow?
Yes, thank you for having me. Will others follow? I have no doubt that people will try their luck. They always do. But there is no doubt also that the NML decision is a very important one and has been rightly sort of controversial for a number of reasons. However, it's important, I think, principally for reminding us that the world of sovereign debt restructuring is not as simple as that of corporate debt restructuring. Indeed, there was a time when sovereigns used to be bound not in contract but in honor only vis-a-vis citizens of nationals of countries other than their own. Sovereigns create their own law, and so in some ways they're not quite above it, but when they deal with laws of other states, they don't need necessarily to recognize it. So over the last sort of 40 years or so, we have had a lot of improvement towards that end, in the sense that sovereigns started accepting for commercial matters to submit to the jurisdiction of other countries.
And so was this interpretation actually that controversial?
It was very controversial, yes. It was controversial because I think nobody really expected this clause to be interpreted to mean rateable payment, which is what the court effectively did. The other thing is that when you find yourself in breach of contract, normally a court awards you damages. But of course, if you have not already paid your debt, awarding damages is useless. And the really novel thing about the case is not just the rateable interpretation of the pari passu clause, but the fact that the court awarded equitable remedies, and indeed ostensibly against Argentina, but in fact collaterally against the payment system that assists Argentina in making payments to others. That's the trustees, the banks, the clearing systems, and including their advisors, everybody.
Based on the fact that the bond trustees were governed or were part of the jurisdiction that is governed by New York law.
Yeah.
Although obviously these trustees also have many operations that fall outside of the New York law jurisdiction. So that's one of the points that I think is outstanding. We'll have to see how
You're absolutely right. This is actually one of the key points, that this the reason the decision is so controversial in a way is because these equitable remedies, which normally a court awards, they're at its discretion, and it's very rare for courts to award such remedies. But these remedies were awarded in a very blanket way, and have been affecting bondholders whose bonds are subject to laws of other countries. Indeed, players who don't have their major presence in New York, and so on and so forth. So, for all of these reasons, it was very controversial. But if I may come back to what you said about the case in Grenada, it's interesting to see that although they tried the same arguments against Grenada, they were less successful. And they were less successful. The judge basically tried to distinguish Argentina, the NML case, and that's why the case against Grenada is likely to be settled out of court, because there's no traction on the same arguments.
Some organizations, so for example, the International Capital Market Association, as well as the International Monetary Fund, who is going to release a report on this matter in October, are coming out with suggestions on how to make this famous now pari passu clause and collective action clauses more effective. Do you think that they're going to be successful? Are things going to be simpler with these suggestions?
Well, I do not know that they're going to be immediately simpler, but I think that, first of all, they have to be applauded for taking the initiative and in bringing out proposals on all these fronts. Now, having said that, I don't think that it's, what they proposed is necessarily the last word. I hope that it's going to be the beginning of a discussion. I mean, I personally believe that, for instance, that the way the ICMA has proposed to fix the pari passu clause may create confusion as to how this clause may be interpreted in the future. It may create the impression that somehow all existing pari passu clauses really did mean rateable payment, when this is not in fact the case.
Okay, so still a lot to discuss on this
still
subject.
A lot to discuss, but the good thing is, I think we have a consensus that out of this we have to move certain things forward, and that is really the good thing.
Thank you, Yanis.
Thank you very much, Silvia.